Hi, I'm Chris Cooper. Welcome to the Family Plot, Gardening in the Mid-South. Thanks for joining us. This time of year, we're getting lots of questions about pruning. What should I prune now and how do I do it? So today, we're going to focus on pruning roses and spring rose care. We're also going to give you some insights to some new plant cultivars you might want to take a look at. All of that and more is coming up next on the Family Plot, Gardening in the Mid-South. So stay with us.
This is a production of WKNO Memphis. Production funding for the Family Plot, Gardening in the Mid-South is provided by Goodwin's Landscape and Garden Center in Germantown since 1943 and continuing to offer its plants for successful gardening with 7 greenhouses and 3 acres of plants, plus comprehensive landscape services. International Paper Foundation, the WKNO Production Fund, the WKNO Endowment Fund, and by viewers like you. Thank you.
Hi, welcome to the Family Plot. I'm Chris Cooper. Joining me today is Master Rosarian, Mr. Jimmy Moser. And then we have Ms. Carol Reese, Horticulture Specialist, UT Extension. Thanks for joining me.
Glad to be here, Chris. Thanks.
All right, Mr. Jimmy. People want to know about rose care and about pruning, so what do you have for us today?
Well, now's the time to prune. Ordinarily, this is a strange year.
Strange year.
Strange year. Ordinarily, about around President's Day is when we start pruning. I've just began pruning because the season's been so strange this year. We've had an awful strange year. But it's not too late to prune, and the fact of it is now is the time to prune.
So now's the time to do it. Okay.
We used to say when the forsythia bloom, that's the time to prune roses. I haven't seen a forsythia bloom yet. It's still not blooming. But the roses need to be pruned. They're not, they're still dormant, and now's the time to do it.
Okay, and you're going to show us how to do that, right?
I am. I'm going to try on several different species of roses that we will help you in your pruning section. I'm going to try to talk about hybrid teas, shrubs, floribundas, minis, climbers. And then after we prune, I'll tell you what to do with them. I'll try to demonstrate.
All right, sounds good. Now, these came out of your yard too, right?
They did. This is brush out of my yard.
Out of your yard.
All right, here I go again. Okay, ordinarily on a climber, we don't prune climbers until after they bloom. But you need to know whether it's a recurrent bloomer or a one-time bloomer. If it's a one-time bloomer, don't touch it. But in other words, if you want to prune it, where you have these little stickers come up where there was a bloom last year, cut them all off, and each one of those is a bud eye, and they'll replenish a bloom. Put them there. You clip them all off.
Okay.
But now, if it's a bloomer that blooms once a year, if you cut that off, you won't have any blooms this year.
You're saying if you cut that off?
No, if you prune
do what you just did.
Yeah, do what I do on any of them. It's fine. You can go ahead and do it. Cut them all off and give it a start. But don't cut the cane down like that because you leave this in the. If you leave this in the ground, that's all you're gonna get because you won't get a bloom. That takes care of your climber.
All right, that takes care of the climber.
Before you throw that away, where were the blooms going to come from on that?
Same place where you cut them off.
Gotcha. That bud was below the cut.
Right, there's bud eyes.
All right.
Bud eyes.
Bud eyes. Okay, now the bud eye. Let me show you what a bud eye is.
Okay.
Maybe that'll help.
Yeah.
This is bud eyes.
Gotcha.
This is bud eyes.
All right.
Here's a bud eye.
Gotcha.
Sometimes they're hard to distinguish. Sometimes it'd be nothing more than a circle there, but it's a bud eye. And I'm going to demonstrate this for on a hybrid tea. Now, you want to cut the first thing you want to do is get rid of all dead wood. Catch this one, Chris. Coming your way.
Coming my way, huh? You got it?
Okay. You want to open the bush up to where it's open in the center. And you can, the closer you cut it to the ground, the better bloom you're going to have.
The closer to the ground.
The closer to the ground, where you have just
better
a
bloom.
few. If you want a lot of blooms, leave a lot of bud eyes. Cut it high.
Cut it high.
All right. If you want a big, fine bloom, cut it low.
Okay. I got it.
Okay. So we're going to cut this one in a minute.
Okay.
Okay.
There you go.
That'll give you good air circulation in the bloom. We want to open the centers up. Cut all these stobs off that's still over. Any old growth that's there.
Now, why do we need the open center for our people?
Give air circulation.
Air circulation.
So you're going to have to spray a hybrid tea. So you want to be able to spray in the center of the bush to prevent your diseases.
All right, fair.
We're working through them. Okay, I want to talk about shrubs and floribundas. You prune them a little different. You want a lot of blooms on the floribunda and on a shrub. And a good example of a shrub, as everybody knows, is knockouts. We've had a lot of trouble with knockouts with the witch's broom or the rose rosette disease. But anyway, if you still got a good bush, take a chance on keeping it. Okay. And what you want to do is to kind of round the bush off and leave as much on as you want. But you do want to cut the little twiggy stuff out of it to let it grow, put you a better stem on it. And I didn't mean to cut the middle out of that one. But you want to shape the bush. Shape it to where it makes a good specimen in your yard, and you'll get a lot of blooms if you leave it like this. You want to cut all the little fine twiggy stuff off.
So you've made a roundy moundy shrub.
Yeah, round it up like a shrub.
Gotcha.
Like a shrub. Okay.
A floribunda is the same thing. A floribunda is a landscape variety. It'll bloom a lot, give you a lot of yard color, and that's what you want. You do it the same way as you would a shrub. I mean, same as a shrub. Yeah, a floribunda and a shrub, the same way. Cut it out. Now, when you prune, you want to cut till you find white pith in the cane. Now, you may have some winter damage because this has been a bad year for winter damage. And if you cut a cane off and it's caramel color, go further on down. Go down until you find good white pith, like here.
Okay.
I don't know what shows on TV or not, but you find good white pith on the cane.
So we cut down to that point. Okay.
Down to a point, down to a bud eye.
Down to a bud eye, okay.
To a bud eye, and you want to cut a 1/4 to 3 inches away from the bud eye. Cut it away from it. Okay. And my shears not very sharp. That's the first thing you want to do, sharpen them up.
Yeah.
Sharpen them up. But you want to cut to a good bud eye, about 3/8 at an angle.
So keep cutting down through the caramel wood till you find
Good
white pith,
pith.
then choose right above a bud
Right.
to cut, and
Cut
cut
it
at
out.
an angle.
Absolutely.
Okay.
All right, got it.
That's another one. Okay, this was my floribunda, and I'm still trimming on it. But you cut it the same way you do a shrub. Just keep on trimming till you round it out.
Right.
Leave a lot of wood on it, you get a lot of blooms on it, and that's what you're after on a landscape variety. Now, after you prune, we want to spray them with a dormant spray.
Okay. All right, why do we need to use the dormant oil?
It's a cleanup spray that we use to clean up anything that's left over from last year, the disease that might be on the plant, black spot, maybe some powdered mildew, some insect eggs that might be on that plant, and the dormant oil will take care of it. You can use lime sulfur or sun spray oil work. Some people even use canola oil, and everybody has some of that available. So,
Is there anything else we need to know about rose care?
there's a lot of rosette going around on these knockout roses, and it spreads on all of our roses. If you have a rose bush in your garden that has rosette, and the way to recognize it, it's a strained growth. It'll have a lot of red prickles on it. It'll put a lot of crazy looking blooms on it. If you find it in your garden, dig it up. That's all you can do. Dig it up. You cannot cure that. We've got no cure for it. They're doing research on it, but they haven't no.
And we need to just get rid of it. We don't need to compost it, right? We just need to bag it up and get it out of there.
No, burn it if you can. Put it in the landfill. It's the best I can tell you on that one. After you spray with your dormant oil and your lime sulfur, you can spray in a combination with it. Some of the directions on the bottle will tell you half and half. Others will say don't mix it. But I've mixed it always, and I haven't had any problem with it. About 4 tablespoons per gallon of each one to spray with a dormant.
I know we just have a couple of seconds. I know you have a question.
Well, I wanted to know when you started fertilizing.
I'm getting ready to tell you about that.
Okay, quickly.
After you've done
Yeah,
that,
hurry.
after you've done that, I'll start my spring fertilization. I use triple 13 in abundance. I lose a lot of triple 13. If you're fertilizing your knockout roses, about 2 cups of triple 13 scratched in the soil around the drip line to really make them grow, or the rest of the roses either. If you want to use a organic, good organics, cottonseed meal, alfalfa pellets, a meal organite, in combination with all of that. Mix them all together and spread it. And that's a very good organic that you can use.
All right, Mr. Jimmy, we appreciate that information. There are a number of gardening events going on in the next couple of weeks. Here are just a few that might interest you. Up next, Master Gardener Tom Mashour is out in the family plot garden to get us started with our cool season vegetables.
As we all know, we had a terrible winter this year. And I had grown some romaine lettuce that I keep postponing in planting. Well, what happened is they got leggy. So what do we do with these leggy plants? First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pinch off the lower leaves. Don't pull them off, either pinch them off or cut them off. You don't want to damage the stem. Then I'm going to do something called layering, or some people call it trenching. I'm still going to dig my hole where I want to plant it, but I'm going to plant it about 1 inch lower than it was in the container. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to plant it down to the level of where the good leaves are. And then I'm going to build up the soil to where the good leaves are. And now it doesn't look so leggy. The next one, which is really leggy, this is one I'm going to have to dig a trench for. So again, I dig my big hole. And now I'm going to dig a little trench, maybe 1 inch, 1.5 inches deep. Prune off the bad leaves, dead leaves. Push it down. Then lay the plant down on its side and cover it up, including the stem. Try not to bend the stem at a steep angle or it might break on you. Now we've got to hit them with some goat juice, commonly referred to as water. Okay, what we're going to plant next is a very pretty edible plant called Swiss chard. And it's very decorative. They grow quite big. They say plant Swiss chard fairly close to each other, like about 8 inches, 6 to 8 inches. Instead of digging individual holes, I'm just going to make a trench about the depth of the plant container. You can see the roots. It's kind of interesting. The red plant has pink roots. And I'm just going to set them right there like that. Ah, here's a yellow one. Notice the roots are yellow. I never noticed that before. Of course, us gardeners are always learning something new all the time. This has got 2 of them in there. I'm going to pull one of them out, pinch it out actually. You don't want to pull them out, because you pull them out, you might hurt the roots of the one remaining. So I just kind of pinch them out. And we'll just plant one more. There we go. Now all I gotta do is hold the plant up and backfill. Well, that takes care of our cool season planting for now. Use the same procedures for most of your cool weather plants, and hopefully I'll be talking to you later about the warm season crops.
All right, Ms. Garrett, we're going to talk about new plants, okay? Now let's explain what plant trials are all about. What are they trying to determine?
Well, what we're trying to do is keep people from wasting a lot of money, because people like me, for example, who love new plants, might go out and buy something that does not work in our region. So what we're trying to do is determine regional adaptability.
Okay.
And then we can recommend them to people fearlessly, so they won't be wasting their money. So our trials are actually going to put the plants out there. We evaluate them sometimes over a series of years before we're comfortable in saying that they are definitely durable here.
Okay.
Might not be true with an annual. We might say 1 year and go, wow, that joker's doing great. But still, it's always good to give it a couple of seasons, because the weather variations from one summer to the next might.
And do these trials happen or occur at the research station?
They do. That's what we do at the experiment station in Jackson, the West Tennessee Research and Education Center. And we have a web page, west.tennessee.edu, where you can look up the results of the trial gardens annually.
Okay.
So.
All right, so let's give the people what they want. You know they want to know about new plant materials.
Well, they
so what
do.
you got?
And I think what a lot of times we want to talk about instead of brand new plants on the market, again, because I don't want to recommend things that I haven't proven yet, but I'm looking at some of the newer cultivars of proven plants that we're already seeing, you know, feeling comfortable about recommending. And some trends in the breeding. For example, Chris, this time of year makes you want to talk about the hellebores. Because the hellebores are winter bloomers, basically. They start in late winter and bloom on into spring. And we found that they do well in the south. So we love them for shade gardens. They do well in dry shade, which most plants do not. But the trend in breeding with them has been the old blooms were hanging down and they were under the foliage and they were beautiful, but you'd have to bend over to look at them and go, wow, that's pretty, you know. So they've been breeding for flowers that stand up and are outward facing and are above the foliage, and that's been a great improvement in the hellebores, especially a series called the HGC, which is the Hellebar Gold Coin series. One called Spring Frost has been a great performer at the station.
Are they doing pretty well with our winter?
Yes, hellebores are real tough.
Oh, so they're tough.
They really don't suffer much from the cold winter. The old foliage now is dying down right now, which is fine. It's putting up new foliage. But we do consider them to be evergreen, which is part of their attraction.
What's some of the name of them?
The Pink Frost is probably our favorite so far at the station, but the Hellebar Gold Coin series is a very good series. Also, in the summer bloomers, one thing we're seeing in trends is a lot of different colors in echinacea. Of course, the cone flowers, some of our favorite native cone flowers, but they've been breeding different species and coming up with different kinds of colors. So some of those have not been terribly durable. Some of them have not been perennial. But one series we've been very impressed with is called the Cheyenne series. Cheyenne is seed grown, so actually you can do well with a pack of seeds that'll bloom the first year, a series of colors, very compact in growth habit. So we've been real impressed with that series so far. And we've had it a couple of years, so we feel comfortable in saying that is a good one.
Good.
The Gaillardias, heat tolerant, love drought, love it hot and dry. Put them out there by the mailbox where you'll never water them. The Mesa series, Mesa Yellow especially, has been a very beautiful form. And the old Arizona Sun I still like to recommend. And that's something that's going to bloom for you all summer for your critters too. So really like to recommend that plant. Plant that's usually not considered heat tolerant are the Lobularias, and it makes a big mat, almost like a little baby's breath, but lying on the ground. And the form called Snow Princess, oh my gosh, it's just fantastic. And it's just a big mass of little tiny white flowers, and it just goes on through the season. Might slow down a little bit in the hottest parts of the summer, but as soon as we begin to cool off toward fall, masses of bloom. So we're looking at it blooming from early spring all the way into fall.
Wow, that's a long time.
And a good kind of a underneath level when you're trying to do something before the taller plants. So that's been a real good one. Lantanas, of course, we love, and we try different types of lantana. One we've loved year after year over there, it's usually just an annual form, is called Luscious Lemonade. Luscious Lemonade is a nice clear yellow, not that old mustard yellow that we're accustomed to with the old gold series. And we've really enjoyed the Luscious Lemonade. And I guess we'll have a really good trial this year to see about the perennial ones. Miss Huff has been very good perennial for us, and Ham and Eggs. And Miss Huff is a big orange and pink dude. Ham and Egg's not quite that big and rangy, and a nice pink and yellow. So far have been reliably perennial. This winter will be a really good test, won't it?
I always like the Ham and Eggs.
I do too.
I think that's pretty nice.
Yeah, it's pink and yellow. I like Ham and Eggs. That's really true. We have found in the trials year after year that some of the newer petunias, the super petunias, have been very good, that whole series. But none performs as well as the bubblegum, Vista Bubblegum Pink. That has just been the petunia. All the breeders say, oh my gosh, if we could just get the genes of that one into all other petunias, we would have it made. And Silverberry has been a real good one. They have a little bit of fragrance to them. Jim, you had something to contribute?
I said bubblegum.
Oh, you like that?
I like the
It is
names.
bubblegum pink. It really is. We're excited. We'll move over a little bit into the shrub realm. We've all been looking for a smaller form of the big burgundy loropetalum so that we can use them in landscape settings, maybe around the house as a foundation planting. And they have not been hardy. Purple pixie is one I think I've killed several times. It just doesn't want to live here. But Crimson Fire looks like it's going to be a winner. It's one of the new out of the breeding program down at Mike Durr's in Athens, Georgia. And it's going to stay small. It wants to grow wide, not tall. Maybe 18 inches tall, maybe 2 feet, but it doesn't go up, it goes out. So I'd look for that Crimson Fire series. And also the dwarf crepe myrtles,
Okay.
the Dazzle series, which they do stay very small and compact. They almost look like you took a pruner to them and just gave them a little hedge
whacked
ball
'em, yeah.
look to them. But they have good looking foliage and they bloom for a long period and they will stay small and shrubby. So people who complain about crepe myrtles
Yeah.
getting too big,
Here you go.
yeah,
Okay.
it's going to be a very good series for them. The Cherry Dazzle especially has been a good one. We haven't been real impressed with the White Dazzle, but so far the pink forms have been real good.
Okay. Quickly, how about hydrangeas?
Well, we've talked about the big leaf ones a lot, so let's talk about the panisled, which are the sun-loving forms,
Okay.
the white blooming in late summer. And one of the favorites has been Baby Lace. We're wild over Baby Lace. It's one of the dwarf forms because a lot of paniculatas get really big, but some of those were floppy. Like I love Little Lime, but it wants to lie down on the ground. But Baby Lace holds those big, beautiful blooms up nice and sturdy, just beautiful pom-poms of white bloom in late summer. And again, a sun-loving hydrangea for those people who don't have a lot of shade.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, that's some good information. He likes that one. He wrote that one down.
Did he good?
All right. Here's our
Are you going to be
Q&A.
available this year?
Here's our Q&A session. Mr. Jimmy, you can jump in there with us, okay? If you have anything to say, which you might, huh? Okay, here's the first question. Is there a good substitute for Bradford pear? And man, I thought about you when this question popped up. So what say you?
The first one that always pops out of my mind are the fringe trees.
Hmm.
Like Surrey with the fringe on top,
Uh-huh.
because people always think, am I saying French tree? But fringe.
Fringe.
And I like both the American fringe tree and the Chinese. And the Chinese might be my favorite. It's going to make a small tree, blooms reliably, a little bit later in the spring than Bradford pear. Beautiful foliage, and they're easily grown. They're
Okay.
tough as nails. The foliage looks good all summer. They don't have the good fall color of a Bradford.
Yeah.
Yeah. And my other second thought would be the deciduous magnolias. Now, a lot of people call them tulip trees. They have
okay.
the pink or purplish blooms that bloom in the spring. But people don't realize how many different types there are. There are the white blooming forms that we usually call star magnolias, the stellatas. They can be shrubby or tree form, and I'm wild about them. If you want a tree form of those, Centennial will make a nice pyramidal tree that might remind you in habit of the Bradford.
Okay.
One I do want to recommend is Wada's Memory. It's a white blooming deciduous magnolia, perfect pyramid that reminds you of the Bradford pear.
Okay.
Wada is the name of the Japanese breeder that it came from. It's a Japanese name, Wada. And it makes a perfect pyramid of a tree, a good bloomer, very sturdy, won't fall apart like your Bradford. And those magnolias are easily grown.
Okay. All right. Well, here's our second question, which is a good one. How can I improve my soil? Yeah. So what do you think about that one, Mr. Jimmy? How do you improve your soil?
With
for
the
your roses?
organics I just mentioned in the thing there, it really improves your soil. Cottonseed meal, alfalfa meal, meal organite, horse manure. I don't particularly like the cow manure. It's more acidic, but it's okay if that's all you can find. And that about take care of it. Okay.
I'm from the top down. I'll collect bags. Right now, I'm driving neighborhoods. I might pick up bags of leaves, but like to spread those leaves on the garden and let that compost and decompose. And you can run the lawnmower over them.
Yes,
You can
that's
till
what I
them
do.
in. You can compost them. But yeah, from the top down is my way of improving soil.
All right, here's our next question. Is it safe to till after spraying Roundup 3 weeks ago?
Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Doesn't do anything to the soil.
Yep. 2 days.
Works on the green chlorophyll of the
Yep.
plant.
Max. 2 days is plenty of time. That's overkill.
Any time. Yeah. Again, once that glyphosate molecule comes in contact with the soil,
It's gone.
it's gone.
Yeah.
It's immobile, doesn't go anywhere. The soil microbes eat it up.
Yeah.
It's no problem.
Chris, a really good resource I like to when we're talking about myth busting, we're talking about the nitrogen robbing. Linda Chalker Scott, she does a lot of hands-on research using wood chips as mulch and that kind
Yeah.
of thing. And I really like her blog. It's The Garden Professors.
Okay.
Very well done, hands-on, scientifically replicated studies that kind of bust some of these myths that we've believed for many
Yeah,
years.
many years.
Yeah. Linda Chalker Scott.
Chocolate Scott. All right, thanks, Kara, Mr. Jimmy. We're out of time. Be sure to connect with us. We'll send you weekly email updates about Family Plot. Just go online to WKNO.org and sign up under Get Local Show Updates. The email address is familyplot@WKNO.org. You can also follow us on Facebook and Twitter. That's all we have time for today. Thanks for watching. I'm Chris Cooper. Be sure to join us next time for the Family Plot, Gardening in the Mid-South. Be safe.
Production funding for the Family Plot, Gardening in the Mid-South is provided by Good Winds Landscape and Garden Center in Germantown since 1943 and continuing to offer its plants for successful gardening with 7 greenhouses and 3 acres of plants, plus comprehensive landscape services. International Paper Foundation, the WKNO Production Fund, the WKNO Endowment Fund, and by viewers like you. Thank you.